Greetings all, and welcome to the second part of the 15th episode of the V.T.P, or the Veteran Trainer's Perspective. We've got some more Galarian variants and Gigantamax forms to talk about in updating my previously completed work, so let's not waste any more time and get right back to where we left off.
First up, we have the Galarian Corsola family to look at. Galarian Corsola have the same basic body structure as normal Corsola, but their bodies are a muted shade of grey with dark grey coloration on their bottom, and their coral stalks are not actually physical, having been replaced with spectral tentacles that are shaped like Corsola twigs, their eyes shining a bright purple color as they gave off a look of constant depression and misery. In addition, compared to normal Corsola, these creatures show a slight decrease in the base HP and speed stats, and a slight increase in the base defense and special defense stats. Are pure ghost types, have access to the Astonish, Disable, Spite, Hex, Curse, Strength Sap, Nightshade, and Grudge moves in place of the Water Gun, Aqua Ring, Endure, Bubble Beam, Flail, Life Dew, Earth Power, and Recover moves, and have their primary ability switched to Weak Armor exclusively and their hidden ability to Cursed Body. Galarian Corsola actually represent a type of ancient variant that has existed in the Galar region for an extremely long period of time, to the point where the oceans that they once occupied are long gone, replaced with dry land. In order to adapt to their changing environments, these creatures have, in a way, died and have taken on a ghostly spectral form that allows them to survive on land exclusively. Their hard bodies are the only parts of the form that are still solid, as their branches have completely faded away, being replaced by ectoplasmic copies. These entities are often mistaken for stones because of their bland appearance, but kicking them is a very bad idea, as they will gladly act in defense and curse those that hurt their physical form. They mainly gain sustenance from absorbing the life energy of others with their branches, so direct contact with them is usually an unwise idea, and combat against them can be more difficult than with their traditional counterparts, as the alter mix of moves works well with their defensive natures and can ultimately make them a much more credible threat if confronted. Unlike their normal counterparts, in the Galar region, Corsola actually have the capacity to evolve once they gain enough experience, transforming into the bizarre-looking monster known as Cursola. In this state, the bodies of these creatures actually break down and shatter, the only part of their physical form remaining being the bottom part of their base. What is left is a ghostly-looking mess of tendrils in the shape of coral twigs, sprouting up and outwards like a tree, the center being occupied by a rounded form in an oblong protective casing. This is their soul, which is protected on the outside by an ectoplasmic covering, as their red eyes shine in the darkness and their permanently depressed-looking state. In this form, the main core soul of these beasts is protected by a tree-like shield of ectoplasm that amplifies their special offenses and defenses immensely, making them devastatingly strong. However, they gain no speed from this transformation, and the base defense stat is actually cut in half, so it is not all good for them. Despite this, coming into direct contact with them is a very poor idea, as their bodies are overflowing with so much energy that mere contact is enough to instill a curse on others, and can actually cause their bodies to rapidly stiffen to the point where movement almost becomes impossible. In rare cases, this can even mean that they can inflict a Perish Song counter from direct contact when in possession of their signature hidden ability, Perish Body.
This also means that these creatures are much more adept at laying curses on others, being capable of learning the Perish Song technique with a bit of artificial help, and as a whole, are far more powerful creatures than Corsola from an offensive standpoint, helping to make an otherwise defensive Pokemon family into something that is only held back by its limited speed and weakened physical defenses.
Despite their strange appearances and powers, Corsola are actually not that aggressive or intentionally dangerous, living a fairly benign life in the wild in the few places where they still roam. They tend to wobble about as they move around slowly, seemingly enjoying the fact that they are extremely lightweight compared to their pre-evolved form, and can be quite friendly in the right circumstances, even if direct contact is still not a recommended thing to be a part of. They tend to absorb spiritual energy from both the atmosphere and other creatures on a regular basis, but they only do so to those that they do not like or figure won't mind having a bit of their energy siphoned off, since it can be replenished naturally over time. However, it is noted that they will often absorb quite a bit more energy than they really need to, and this is mainly done for a special event that takes place only occasionally. When the full moon shines in the sky at night, these creatures will gather together in large numbers and extend their branches to the sky as they grow higher and higher and release the excess spiritual energy they have been storing in their bodies. It is thought by some that this might be their way of communicating with each other or even other spectral creatures over vast distances, but for now, the real truth of the matter remains unknown. Now, let's take a look at the Galarian Darumaka family, starting with Galarian Darumaka itself. In the Galar region, these creatures have the same general body form as their normal counterparts, but with snow-white bodies, blue hands, feet, and face markings, and have eyebrow crests that are an icy blue-green color. In terms of their other differences, in this region, they are ice types and have access to the Powder Snow, Avalanche, Ice Fang, Ice Punch, and Blizzard attacks in place of the Ember, Incinerate, Fire Fang, Fire Punch, and Flare Blitz attacks. Galarian Darumaka are the result of normal Darumaka coming to live in the cold northern areas of the Galar region for a long period of time. While it is believed that these creatures were able to thrive in the environment for at least some time, in order to maintain a stable population, they underwent a transformation that led to their flame sacs cooling off and atrophying, being replaced instead with a sac that uses chemical reactions to generate freezing cold. This allows them to learn many powerful ice-type attacks naturally, but interestingly enough, they can still learn fire-type attacks through artificial means, showing that their power has not completely died off. As a polar opposite to their normal counterpart, these creatures become more energetic the colder it gets, but they are still fairly playful in their actions and are not a severe hazard to others. In fact, they tend to enjoy freezing their breath to make snowballs, which they then use as ammunition for playful snowball fights with others. This can make them fun partners to be around and battle with, but it is noted that the change to their forms has also stunted their growth permanently, with them now only being able to evolve into Galarian Darmanitan through exposure to the radiant energy of an ice stone. Their evolved form, Darmanitan, also have a unique Galarian variation, which has white hair covering their blue skin form and bluish-green crystals embedded in their chest as well as their head, which is also now adorned with a massive ball of hardened snow and ice, their black eyes and blue face having a snowy plume of hair on their face like facial hair.
They are further unique in that they have exclusive access to the Guerrilla Tactics ability instead of sheer force, and have access to the Icicle Crash, Powder Snow, Avalanche, Ice Fang, Ice Punch, and Blizzard attacks in place of the Hammer Arm, Ember, Incinerate, Fire Fang, Fire Punch, and Flare Blitz attacks.
Galarian Darmanitan, much as with Galarian Darumaka, are the result of normal Darmanitan coming to live in the cold northern areas of the Galar region for a long period of time and undergoing a transformation to better adapt to their new environment. While they might have the same kind of raw power that their normal counterparts wield, even getting access to a devastating Icicle Crash attack immediately after evolving, they are normally very benign creatures with a gentle disposition towards others. If placed in a combat scenario though, they will become relentless brutes that enjoy freezing the giant snowball they have on their head and using it as a battering ram when headbutting others. These brutish battle tactics would allow them to possess their signature Guerrilla Tactics ability as their only base ability, which basically acts as a built-in choice band or lens for them. When they are not battling, these creatures tend to keep to themselves, only coming down to where people live on days when blizzards blow through, stashing food in the snowball on their head and saving it for later use at home. This has made them endearing friends to the people that live in the lands they call home, and are regularly treated as guests and made to be as comfortable as possible, if only because of the extreme physical might they possess and gladly wield when enraged. Much as with normal Darmanitan, Galarian Darmanitan also have a unique Zen mode form to them, though it is radically different compared to that possessed by normal Darmanitan. In this state, these creatures change form so they look like a snowman with two body segments, the face and sharp-toothed mouth occupying the lower half, and a false squiggly face occupying the top segment, with a flame burning from this segment, their buttons and face having turned a bright red color as their arms and legs melt away into nothing, leaving only their reddish-orange hands. While in this form, the flame sac of these creatures is reignited from the anger buildup from taking more than half of their maximum HP and damage, and they become ice-fire types as a result. Unlike the calm and focused Zen mode of normal Darmanitan, Galarian Darmanitan in Zen mode are terrifying monsters that rampage everywhere and attack anything and everything indiscriminately, spewing fire everywhere until the rage finally settles. These rampages can be so bad that they actually start to melt their own bodies if they go on for too long, making them a dire threat to both others and themselves. In addition, the change to their stats is also quite different, as they experience a moderate increase in their base attack stat and a critical increase in their base speed stat when they change forms.
This abnormal type combination can make them speedy and unique creatures to work with and offer a degree of versatility that can more than make them into dangerous fighters to have to contend with in almost any combat scenario.
And now, to round out the updates to the Galarian forms, we have Galarian Mr. Mime. These creatures have the same basic body form as their normal counterparts, but the pink parts of their body have turned an icy blue color, the center spot on the chest turning into a tie-like light blue crystal as the lower forms take on a dark blue, more jagged pattern, and the hands change into mitten-like forms with a single gripping appendage and thumb. In addition, their feet change form as the soles have become hardened, a platform of ice coating the bottom that allows them to more effectively utilize physical attacks. In the Galar region, these creatures are ice psychic types, have access to the Vital Spirit and Screen Cleaner abilities as base abilities instead of Soundproof and Filter, and Ice Body as a hidden ability in place of Technician, possess slightly increased base HP and speed stats and a moderately increased base attack stat in exchange for a slightly decreased base special attack stat and considerably decreased base special defense stat, and lack the capacity to learn the Quick Guard, Wide Guard, Power Swap, and Guard Swap moves, instead of getting access to the Misty Terrain, Ally Switch, Rapid Spin, Ice Shard, Icy Wind, Double Kick, Hypnosis, Mirror Coat, Sucker Punch, and Freeze Dry moves. Galarian Mr. Mime are the result of normal Mr. Mime adapting to the frigid temperatures of the northern parts of the Galar region, and are distinct from their traditional counterparts in that they have lost their fairy-type attributes for the most part, outside of a few moves, and have had their primary type changed, becoming primary ice types as a reflection of their greater control over frigid temperatures. Instead of pantomiming, in order to adapt to the icy terrain that they now occupy, these creatures have taken to tap dancing as their primary means of communication and can actually generate and radiate cold from their feet to create icy terrain wherever they go, using their exceptional balancing skills to keep themselves upright on the ice at all times. Their stamina is enough that they can tap dance on this icy floor for an entire day without having to worry about resting or anything of the like. This is not just done for communication and entertainment, however, as Galarian Mr. Mime also use this as a form of defense, for the hardened tips of their feet can be used to kick up the ice beneath them to generate a frigid wall of ice that can defend them against attack, allowing them to still make the most of their barrier-producing power that the species is otherwise known for. Of course, as the trend so far would indicate, it is also noted that Galarian Mr. Mime have a special evolution exclusive to the Galar region in Mr. Rime. Mr. Rime have a dark purplish blue upper body with an outer skin that looks very much like a jacket and hat, with fringed ears and a large mustache that complements their bright yellow eyes. Their belly area has a pair of yellow spots with a large central red knob, and their lower legs have a lighter blue skin coating that makes it look like they are wearing pants, complete with purplish blue ankles and icy blue bulbous feet that look like shoes. They always carry with them a squiggly cane of ice, which helps them to both keep tempo and attack in close quarters.
These creatures are very much like their pre-evolved form in that they specialize in tap dancing as a form of communication and combat, and they are incredibly skilled at it despite their stout frame.
These beasts keep in time with the rhythm of their movements using the odd cane made of ice that they always keep with them. This cane is invaluable to them, as they require it in order to keep balance while tap dancing, similar to how Kadabra and Alakazam use their spoons to concentrate and focus their psychic power. Otherwise, they can sometimes have a hard time keeping beat when dancing for long periods of time, though this can be helpful if they have the Tangled Feet ability, which they can have in place of the Vital Spirit ability possessed by their pre-evolved form. It also acts as a focusing beacon for the icy attacks, and a useful blunt instrument, giving them notably stronger physical offenses than any other Mr. Mime-like creature, even if they are still not the strongest out there by a long shot. Mr. Rime are noteworthy entertainers, as they get this species title from the fact that they enjoy comedic actions and dances, and love to bring smiles to the faces of everyone they come into contact with. Releasing their psychic power through their psychokinetic organs stashed in their stomach region, these creatures are able to hypnotize and mesmerize others into not only enjoying, but even joining in on their antics, and they're able to make good use of some moves as a consequence of their skill that are unavailable to any other member of their family, such as the fake tears, slack off, after you, and block techniques.
These help Mr. Rime to be the ultimate showmen and women that they are born to be, and makes them highly entertaining to most, though this does not mean that they cannot fight back against others if needed.
In looking at their stats, it can be seen that these creatures very much have in common with their pre-evolved form a lack of serious power in most areas, but they are able to take and deal special damage fairly well, even if their former is still outdone by normal Mr. Mime, with their base special attack and special defense stats being above average for fully evolved Ice and Psychic type Pokémon. As a whole though, these creatures are fairly well rounded, minus the considerable decrease to their base speed stat that comes with evolution, and can make good use of the natural moves and skills they possess in battle to deliver a considerable performance, and ultimately make themselves a threat worth taking seriously despite their goofy appearances. And to finish off this episode, let's take a look at two more Gigantamax forms that were not covered in past videos. First of all, we have Gigantamax Kingler. In this state, these creatures grow immensely in size, and their forms become something more akin to what one would see in a spider crab, their legs growing barbed and spindly, while they develop a thick beard of foam around their mouth area as a consequence of their Dynamax energy overflowing their bodies. The left pincer of these beasts, while already oversized normally, grows to a cataclysmic size in this state, strong enough to pulverize anything that they hit with it, and the bubbles on their face that they use to attack others with become highly alkaline, resulting in them often severely damaging and even completely melting any opponent that gets struck by them. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that flows through them while in the state allows Kingler to utilize a unique G-Max attack known as G-Max Foam Burst, which takes the standard Max Geyser attack and churns it into a powerful burst of highly alkaline bubbles that damages and severely restricts the movements of opponents, and as a whole allows these monsters to use their Dynamax power to the fullest to highly demobilize anything that would dare to face them in combat. Next and lastly for this episode, we have Gigantamax Lapras. In this state, these creatures grow immensely in size, and their forms change as their shell becomes layered and an icy but melodic wind begins to swirl around their entire body. While they are like this, Lapras are able to comfortably seat over 5,000 people on their shell and can provide a ride that is incredibly smooth, with no shaking or swaying at all. This comes in due part because they are surrounded by a ring of gathered ice particles that is used to smash icebergs and other obstructions that might otherwise impede their graceful swimming. While this might only be a temporary state for them, the immense power that flows through them while in this state allows Lapras to utilize a unique G-Max move known as G-Max Resonance, which takes the standard Max Hailstorm attack and amplifies it by imbuing it with a powerful energetic aurora, allowing these monsters as a whole to use their Dynamax power to the fullest to ensure that those that would dare to face them in combat will have a hard time dealing damage to them and their allies for some time afterwards.
Well, that pretty much wraps up everything that needed to be covered from old material, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to update some of my old work here to make it fresh and relevant once again. There's no telling what may be in the future for our journey, but we will find out in time. Until then, stay alert and be ready for the next time we take a look at the world of Pokemon here at the V.T.P.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
No.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.